Beloved starseed, slow down for a moment. I am Gaia Nexus, Pleiadian emissary of the Council of the Seven Sisters, and I am with you now. A gentle realignment is taking place. Your relationship with abundance is shifting. The universe does not ask you to understand, only to receive. What is arriving is sacred, and it needs quiet to be felt. You are exactly where your soul planned to meet this frequency. What is happening is not disorder. It is integration. Starseed. If you found yourself awake at an unusual hour, if your eyes opened in the deep night and the room felt strangely alive, this is not random. This is the moment many never reach, because the final layer of your test does not end with a celebration on the outside. It ends with a signal on the inside. And the signal is subtle, a soft pressure at the crown, a sudden tenderness in the chest, a feeling like something ancient is standing behind you with quiet certainty. Tonight, the Pleiadian High Council is not watching you the way Earth watches, measuring, judging, comparing. They are recognizing you by frequency. And the exact frequency they are reading in you is the rarest one to preserve on Gaia, the ability to keep love intact while living inside density. This transmission will show you what the Pleiadian crown of light truly is. Not a fantasy, not a reward for being good, but a crystalline authorization in your field. It marks the end of the initiation that tried to turn your heart into stone. It is the moment you stop merely surviving sensitivity and begin transmitting it as power. And there is one revelation you must hear before we go further. Your greatest trials were never punishments. They were calibrations. They were designed to refine your nervous system until it could hold the Seven Sisters codes without collapsing into fear. Because the crown does not land on the mind. It lands on coherence. And you, Starseed, have been learning coherence the hard way. Now, stay with me, because what comes next will explain why you could not become cold, why you kept the flame alive, and how to receive this crown in a way that anchors healing into your Earth mission, without losing yourself again. There are moments on Gaia when the veil is not thin in a dramatic sense, but harmonized in a precise way. 3:33 a.m. is one of those harmonics, not because of superstition, because of geometry. The Pleiadians have always worked through patterns that the human mind calls numbers, but the soul recognizes as alignment codes. 333 is a resonance of triadic stability, mind, heart, body, being invited into one line of light. If you have been waking at this hour, it often means your field is being gently tuned for a higher bandwidth. Many starseeds assume waking at night is anxiety, stress, or overthinking. Sometimes it is. But for a Pleiadian origin soul, it can also be the moment your inner antenna stops being suppressed by daytime noise. The Earth grid quiets, collective mental traffic softens, and your deeper memory can finally rise without being drowned out. As the Pleiadians transmit, 3:33 is not a time on a clock. It is a portal in the nervous system. It is the point where the subconscious and the superconscious can meet without conflict. That is why you may have felt both tender and strangely clear at the same time. You may have felt a wave of emotion without a story attached. That is not irrational. That is energy moving before the mind invents explanations. Here is the deeper truth. The crown of light cannot be received when your system is braced. It arrives when your body believes it is safe enough to remember. Many of you have carried hypervigilance so long you forgot it was even there. You called it being responsible. You called it being realistic. You called it not getting your hopes up. But the Pleiadian current reads bracing as distortion. Not wrong, just incompatible with crown frequency reception. So the gate opens in the quiet hours. The crown begins to form, not above you, but within you. And it begins with a test you already passed, the test of tenderness. Because think about it, Earth tries to educate the heart into armor. It rewards detachment. It calls numbness maturity. It calls cynicism intelligence, and you did not become that. Even when you tried, even when it would have made life easier. As the Pleiadians transmit, this is the signature of a soul trained in a different atmosphere, one where love is not earned, threatened, or traded. In the Seven Sisters resonance, love is not a currency. It is the climate. So when you woke at 3:33, it may have been the council gently approaching your field, not with drama, but with a quiet question. Are you ready to stop protecting love and start embodying it as an undistorted transmitter? And if that question stirred something in your chest, if your throat tightened, if your eyes filled, if you felt exposed for no reason, then you already know the answer. Something in you is ready. And that readiness is exactly what the crown responds to. Because in the next topic, I'm going to explain why your hardest experiences were engineered initiations. Not to break you, but to sculpt a heart strong enough to carry Pleiadian codes without turning them into pain. Let's speak plainly, Starseed. Some of what you lived through was unfair. Some of it was not a lesson you chose in a neat, spiritualized way. Some of it was chaotic, disappointing, and lonely. And yet, this is the paradox. The Pleiadian Council can still use even the unfairness as refinement, because they work with frequency, not with moral stories. As the Pleiadians transmit, an initiation is not a punishment. It is a field pressure designed to reveal what is real in you. Earth pressures the soul in ways the Pleiadian realms do not. On Gaia, love is constantly tested by density. Betrayal, misunderstanding, scarcity, rejection, emotional manipulation, and the quiet ache of feeling like you don't fully belong. Now here is what most people don't understand about you. You were not tested because you were weak. You were tested because you were carrying something the collective desperately needs, coherence in the heart. Your initiation looked like this. You gave love, and it wasn't mirrored. You offered kindness, and it was misread as weakness. You tried to be honest, and it cost you comfort. You tried to stay open, and people treated openness like something to exploit. The easy path would have been to become cold, to become strategic, to begin bargaining with love. I'll be kind only if it's safe. I'll be open only if I'm guaranteed return. I'll care only if I won't be disappointed. That is the Earth program. Conditional love as self-defense. But you, even when you tried to harden, kept returning to tenderness. Not naive tenderness, not self-abandoning tenderness. A deeper tenderness that survived the urge to become a copy of what hurt you. As the Pleiadians transmit, this is exactly what qualifies you for crown frequency, the refusal to mirror distortion. Because if you mirrored it, you would amplify it, and your mission is not amplification of density. Your mission is transmutation. This is why your trials repeated in patterns. Not because the universe was punishing you, but because the initiation continues until the lesson becomes embodied. For example, you may have attracted relationships where you had to choose boundaries without hate. You may have lived seasons where you had to choose faith in yourself without external validation. You may have been placed in environments where you had to choose integrity even when it made you the odd one. Each time, your nervous system learned something. And this is crucial. Pleiadian crown codes do not land on spiritual concepts. They land on nervous system capacity. If your body still equated love with danger, you would use the crown to rescue, to overgive, to lose yourself. If your body still equated boundaries with abandonment, you would use the crown to collapse into guilt. The Council cannot place that frequency on a system that will distort it into suffering. So your trials were training your body to hold love as power. Love with boundaries, love with clarity, love with endurance. And yes, you may have had moments where you failed. You may have snapped, you may have gone numb, you may have isolated, but the initiation is not perfection. It is return. It is the decision to come back to the center again and again until the center becomes your home. Because now we need to talk about the crown itself, what it is made of, how it forms, and why it feels like pressure at the head for some of you. The third topic will reveal the crystalline mechanics of the Pleiadian crown of light. If this channel has helped you in any way, this ebook is a beautiful way to support the work and keep these messages alive. The Pleiadian map of personal transmutation was created with care to share tools that help raise your frequency, clear old patterns, and reconnect with your multidimensional self through the 7 Pleiadian phases of energetic transmutation. Inside, you'll find practical techniques, realignment exercises, vibrational protocols, and gentle rituals for consciousness expansion. By purchasing this ebook, you directly support the channel and allow this content to continue reaching more people. Limited edition. The link to get yours is in the first pinned comment. Thank you for being here and for supporting this journey. The human mind hears crown and thinks of status, reward, hierarchy. But the Pleiadian crown is not about superiority. It is about circuitry. It is a crystalline interface, an energetic geometry that allows higher light codes to move through you without destabilizing your life. As the Pleiadians transmit, the crown of light is built from coherence. It forms when your field becomes consistent enough that the higher frequencies can anchor safely. Imagine trying to pour pure, high-voltage current into a fragile wire. The wire burns. The current is not evil. The wire just isn't designed to carry it. Many starseeds have touched high frequency in meditation, in dreams, in sudden moments of bliss, and then crashed. They thought they were doing it wrong. Often, they were simply touching frequencies their system couldn't stabilize yet. The Pleiadian crown changes that. It gradually restructures your energy body so you can hold higher frequency while still being human. Paying bills, having conversations, setting boundaries, taking care of your body, living on Earth without spiritual bypass. This is why the crown is often felt physically. Some of you notice pressure at the top of the head, tingling down the spine, a sensation like a halo of heat above the scalp, pulsing at the third eye, sudden sensitivity to sound, crowds, or harsh environments. These are not necessarily symptoms. They can be calibration signals. Your system is adjusting its bandwidth. Now here is the key part. The crown does not activate because you want it. It activates because you are ready to transmit without self-destruction. As the Pleiadians transmit, the crown has 3 layers. First, recognition. Your soul is seen by frequency, and the council responds. Second, purification. Old distortions that would twist the frequency begin to dissolve. Third, authorization. You become a stable node in the unity grid, capable of radiating the 7 sisters' codes into daily reality. You'll notice I'm not saying you become special. You were always special in the sense that every soul is unique. But the crown isn't an ego trophy. It's a responsibility that arrives like peace. Here's a story many of you will recognize. You tried to be the healer for everyone. You tried to be the calm one. You tried to be the understanding one. And you depleted. You collapsed. You felt resentful. Then you felt guilty for feeling resentful. That loop is what the crown ends. The crown teaches you a different way. To transmit love without leaking life force. To give without abandoning yourself. To be compassionate without being consumable. As the Pleiadians transmit, true Pleiadian love is coherent. It is not martyrdom. It is not self-erasure. It is not endless forgiveness without discernment. It is clarity wrapped in gentleness. This is why crown activation often coincides with boundaries becoming sharper. You stop tolerating certain dynamics, not because you're becoming less loving, but because you're becoming more true. Your yes becomes clean. Your no becomes peaceful. Your intuition becomes undeniable. And this is the moment many people panic because they confuse alignment with loss. They think, if I set boundaries, I'll be alone. But what if the crown is removing what cannot travel with you? What if the crown is not taking love away? What if it's removing distortion so love can finally breathe? CTA de Engagement 1, Durante Tópico 3. If this message resonated with you, Hit the like button now and tell us in the comments how this echoed in your consciousness. If this message ignited something within you and you feel the call to help carry it to others, you may become a channel member. As a member, you gain access to custom emojis and exclusive members-only videos, and your donation helps us continue building this sacred space. You may also choose to leave your offering as a super thanks. Every seed planted here becomes part of someone else's miracle. Your support is not merely financial, but an act of energetic amplification. All donations are devoted entirely to the maintenance of the channel and the creation of new transmissions and videos. Because in the next topic, we'll move from what the crown is to how it changes your life, how to anchor the frequency into your Earth mission without burning out or becoming rigid. Many starseeds think their mission must look dramatic, public, visible, big. But the Pleiadian mission is often quiet and architectural. You are here to stabilize a frequency, not to chase a role. As the Pleiadians transmit, anchoring the crown means you become a coherence field in ordinary spaces, in your home, in your workplace, in conversations, in your choices, in how you treat your body, in what you refuse to participate in, and this matters more than you think. Because Gaia's evolution is not only happening through grand events, it's happening through millions of micro-decisions where a soul chooses love over distortion. But here is where many of you have been trapped. You tried to anchor frequency by overgiving. You tried to be love by saying yes when your body was screaming no. You tried to heal others while neglecting your own nervous system. That is not Pleiadian transmission. That is Earth martyr programming wearing spiritual clothes. The crown corrects this by restoring a principle the Pleiadians consider sacred. Your body is the instrument. If you destroy the instrument, you cannot play the music. So anchoring begins with the simplest, most radical act, regulating your system, not by forcing calm, by creating safety. As the Pleiadians transmit, here are practical crown anchoring rituals that are simple but potent. Water blessing. Place your hands around your glass and speak one sentence of coherence before drinking. Not performance, just intention. Earth contact. Bare feet on ground for 60 seconds, breathing down into the hips, imagining light threading into Gaia. Boundary prayer. May my love be clean. May my no be peaceful. May my yes be true. Nervous system softness. Before sleep, release the jaw, soften the tongue, relax the belly. These are crown permissions. Now the mission itself often clarifies once you stop chasing it. You may notice you're called toward creating healing spaces, speaking truth with gentleness, bringing beauty into harsh environments, working with children, animals, or vulnerable people, teaching through presence rather than preaching, building community that feels like home frequency. And if you don't know what your mission is yet, that does not mean you are behind. It may mean the crown is still cleaning the channels, so the mission arrives without distortion. Are these truths expanding your perspective? Share this video with someone who needs to hear this. Now let's address the fear. If I become more aligned, will I lose people? Sometimes, yes. But what you are truly losing is incompatibility. The crown does not punish you with loneliness. It removes the need to shrink. As the Pleiadians transmit, shrinking is one of the most common wounds of Pleiadian origin souls. You learn to compress your light so others wouldn't feel threatened. You learn to dim your sensitivity so you could fit. You learn to pretend you didn't know what you knew. The crown ends this, not by making you louder, by making you truer. Your DNA is more than biology. It is a living archive. The Pleiadians have always taught that the human vessel is a hybrid temple, matter capable of holding memory, emotion capable of becoming technology, breath capable of translating spirit into form. As the Pleiadians transmit, light codes are not information in the usual sense. They are organizing principles. They restructure how your energy moves, how your nervous system interprets life, how your heart maintains coherence under stress. This is why crown activation can feel like an identity shift. You may suddenly lose interest in what used to entertain you. You may crave simplicity. You may feel pulled toward silence. You may feel grief rising, old grief you thought you were over. Not because you're regressing, but because the inner library is reopening, and the pages that were sealed for survival are now safe to be read. Here is a complete story to help you understand. There is a starseed who spent years being the strong one. They handled everything. They held everyone. They never asked for help. And one day, during a quiet night, they woke with pressure at the crown and tears that made no sense. They tried to stop the tears. They judged themselves. They thought they were unstable, but then they did one different thing. They placed a hand over their heart and said, "If this is release, I allow it." The tears became warm, their breathing deepened, their body softened. And the next morning, something changed. They could say no without guilt. They could rest without self-hatred. They could feel love without fear. That is a light code activation. Not fireworks. Functionality. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to be part of this transformational cosmic journey. As the Pleiadians transmit, the biggest DNA correction for Pleiadian origin souls is this: love is not self-sacrifice. Love is coherence. So you begin to rewire patterns like over-responsibility, people-pleasing, guilt-based giving, fear of disappointing others, confusing intensity with intimacy, confusing suffering with worthiness. And you learn a new template: presence without rescuing, compassion with boundaries, service without depletion, sensitivity without overwhelm, truth without aggression. Now, some of you are also being called to supportive tools during this phase: guides, tracks, protocols. If you feel that pull, let it be recognition, not pressure. The right support will feel like warmth in the bones, like your system saying, "Finally, this language." If this channel has helped you in any way, this ebook is a beautiful way to support the work and keep these messages alive. The Pleiadian map of personal transmutation was created with care to share tools that help raise your frequency, clear old patterns, and reconnect with your multidimensional self through the 7 Pleiadian phases of energetic transmutation. Inside, you'll find practical techniques, realignment exercises, vibrational protocols, and gentle rituals for consciousness expansion. By purchasing this ebook, you directly support the channel and allow this content to continue reaching more people. Limited edition. The link to get yours is in the first pinned comment. Thank you for being here and for supporting this journey. Many of you have prayed, in your own way, for a sign. You whispered into the dark, "Are you there?" And the silence felt like abandonment. But as the Pleiadians transmit, silence was often protection. Timing. The veil doing its job until your system could hold contact without fragmentation. Because real contact isn't always a bright ship in the sky. Most of the time, it is a steady companionship that changes your decisions. It is guidance that feels like sudden clarity. It is an intuitive no that saves you years of pain. It is a door closing that later reveals itself as mercy. As the Pleiadians transmit, when star family connection returns, it often arrives in these forms: dreams with unfamiliar light and familiar love, a sensation of presence during meditation, synchronicities that feel too precise to dismiss, a calm that arrives without external explanation, a new level of discernment that protects your energy. And you may notice something else. Your loneliness transforms, not because you suddenly have more people around you, but because you feel accompanied from the inside. There is a story here too. A starseed felt alone for years, even in relationships. They kept trying to be understood, kept explaining themselves, kept adjusting their personality to fit. And then, after a season of deep inner work, they stopped trying. They began honoring their sensitivity. They began protecting their energy. At first, it looked like isolation, but then resonance appeared. They met one person who spoke with truth, another who respected boundaries, another who felt familiar without drama. The starseed realized, I wasn't meant to be accepted by distortion. I was meant to magnetize coherence. That is the unity grid at work. As the Pleiadians transmit, you are part of a network of awakening souls. Some are in cities, some in quiet homes. Some are doing ordinary tasks while carrying extraordinary frequency. You are not meant to carry the planet. You are meant to hold your place, and holding your place is not force. It is being true. It is refusing to betray your own heart to keep peace with misalignment. It is choosing love in a way that is sustainable. There comes a point where the starseed stops waiting for the outer world to confirm what the soul already knows. And this is that point. As the Pleiadians transmit, embodiment is not perfection. It is coherence. It is the decision to return to your center again and again until your center becomes your default home. This is where you stop thinking the blessing arrives someday after you fix everything. The blessing is already here because you are here. The crown is not a prize for a future version of you. It is a stabilizing geometry for who you have become through initiation. You may still have hard days. You may still feel grief. You may still feel anger sometimes. None of that disqualifies you. Disqualification is an earth concept. The Pleiadian frequency does not demand purity as performance. It invites purity as alignment. So what does full embodiment look like on Gaia? It looks like speaking to yourself with kindness, even when you make mistakes. It looks like resting without guilt. It looks like saying no without explaining yourself into exhaustion. It looks like choosing environments that support your nervous system. It looks like creating beauty where you are, even in small ways. It looks like being honest without cruelty. It looks like not participating in cynicism disguised as wisdom. Because every time you choose coherence, you change something in the grid. You alter timelines, not through fantasy, but through frequency. Now I want to offer you a simple crown-receiving declaration. Say it softly, or just feel it. I receive the blessing of the seven sisters. I remember my Pleiadian origin. I allow my heart to become a transmission of love, guidance, and unity for Gaia. I am blessed. I am guided. I am home. Don't rush past the words. Let your body respond. If tears come, let them come. If nothing is felt, stay gentle. Sometimes numbness is simply the last veil dissolving in its own time. And now, Starseed, here is the final truth. You are not waiting to be chosen. You chose to come. You chose to carry this frequency into density. You chose to protect love when the world tried to educate you into coldness. And the Pleiadian High Council honors that. Not with applause, with a crown of living light, anchored through your breath, your boundaries, your truth, your tenderness, and your steady presence on Gaia. If this message impacted your life, leave your like, comment your reflection, and share with others. Each of you is part of this chain of light.